Talking with Topher, episode 12. Remember, subscribe, click those alarms, and hit those like buttons. So, today, I would like to talk about admitting fault. Admitting fault is hard. I recently had to do it. So, because of that car accident, it turns out that it was my fault, unfortunately. So, I had to deal with that for a couple days, and it wasn't really depression so much as it was disappointment in myself. It's the first accident I've caused since I got my license back in 2011. So it's hard. Fault is easy to push onto someone else, something else. I've been doing it for years, and the last 3 years or so now, I don't do that anymore. I always admit my faults. I always accept the fact that if I fuck up, that it's just something that I have to deal with. It was tough, and I just need to, put it out there that I was at fault, and it's disappointing. Very disappointing, and I think it's supposed to be. I think it helps you realize that you need to change a little bit. We're always changing, always growing. I know I am continuously ever since I've gotten off of alcohol. I feel like I have learned so much in the last, September will be 4 years, and it's absolutely mind-blowing what I was almost blind to. And so now I admit when I'm wrong, because it's easier than trying to blame other people or blame a scenario or blame a thing for my mistake. And it just makes life easier for me. It's just like, telling the truth. It's hard, but at the end of the day, I feel better inside. I feel better in my mind. I feel just better. It gets weight off the shoulders. So, finding this out last Friday, today's Wednesday, June 24th, and they told me I was at fault. So I had to swallow that pill, and I sat on it, and I was disappointed in myself all weekend. And then yesterday I was at work, and they told me that they were totaling the car. Now, my worst case scenario I went to was I caused this accident and they totaled my car. And that's exactly what happened. So from the get-go, as soon as this accident happened, I was already preparing myself for this outcome. And I put a lot of time and energy into trying to control something I have no control over, and dealing with admitting that I was at fault for the accident. Never mind the fact that I had a passenger, which is just really, really difficult. It's so much. It's not even easier to admit fault when you're just involved. But when you have somebody else and you have to admit fault, it makes you think so much differently. Because now I'm like, he could have gotten hurt. And I don't need that in my life. So I've learned that, 1, I'm going to change up my parking. 2, I'm going to pay a hell of a lot more attention to my mirrors. And I've just, now those things are getting embedded in the back of my brain. Because I feel a lot less comfortable on the road, like most people do after an accident. And it was just tough. And for years and years and years, I used to blame alcohol for things I would do. I used to blame anything I could to take the blame off myself. And now admitting my faults helps me grow as a person. And when we're growing as people, there's all kinds of things that happen in life that help us grow. And one of those things is getting rid of people in your life that are not encouraging. They want to hold you back. Anything like that. And during all my time of AA, jail, I don't remember the other courses I had to take where I was locked up in a house with 12 other people and we learned about drinking and driving every day for 2 weeks. And I think it was the MOP program, I believe it was. And, all these things. And the one thing that they and AA and all of them have in common is they all say that you need to weed out negative people in your life that will drag you back to where you were. And even though that's really, really difficult, and when I was much younger, I did not really understand what they meant, because I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just going to go back to my parents' house and go hang out with my friends. And that's exactly what they're talking about. Yeah, you're going to go home and go back to your parents. That's fine. That's great. But let's figure out what these friends have to offer. And I have to say, when I found out I was at fault, and then they told me that I had a week, before the rental was up, because now they're totaling the car. So you only get it for 7 days after that. And then the rental is, you're going to have to pay for it until you find a car, but they only cover it for 1 week after they total a vehicle. So now I'm kind of freaking out. And my really good friend, who I call and talk to when I'm distraught and down and out, and he's always there to pick me up and keep me level-headed. Just simply like, you need to breathe and don't go buy a car right away, because you want to make sure you get into something that's going to treat you as well as the vehicle that you just priorly bought. You don't want to go buy a piece of shit that you're going to have to dump a shit ton of money into just because you're not going to have a rental for a week, and it's actually cheaper if you just use the rental for a little bit longer, even though you're paying for it. Just downsize, no big deal. Downsize, pay a little bit less, and now you can relax, because even at $25, $30 a day, still going to be cheaper than just running out there and grabbing a car and paying $4,000 or $3,000, and then something breaks on it and you bought it from somebody where there's nothing they can do for you. So I was like, all right. And he's like, call the guy again. And so I did. And turns out it's a Subaru Legacy. It's 2 years younger. It's got friggin' 60,000 less miles on it. And he wanted short money for it. And I was like, well, I'm getting almost all my money back for this Subaru, which blew my mind. When you pay a price for a car and then it gets totaled, I've always lost money. And this Subaru held its value. I almost got dollar for dollar for it. So it was really incredible. And he's like, I got another one, except it's not a hatchback. And I was like, and he's like, all your parts will fit. And I was so glad I listened to that friend. And that's why you have to sift through the people in your life and take a look around and see who's holding you back and who's propping you up. And you want to keep the positive, propping up people in your life so that you can continue to move forward as a person and become a better, positive person. Because if you stick with negative people, you're going to stay in a negative state, and you're possibly never going to do anything or move forward. And for me, that's a really scary situation, because I feel like if I'm not moving forward, or if I'm not learning something new every day, then I don't know, you're like almost dead, what are you doing? So it's just a food for thought, get those people, get them out, try to get out of bad living situations, and I know we've all had bad girlfriends or bad boyfriends. It happens. I've stayed in multiple bad relationships. So we do that, and I do that too. But over time, I've learned that if you sift through everything and everybody and pull out all the good and let go of the bad, whether you love them or not, or care about them, or think you need them around, sometimes letting those people go is going to help you move forward. This hand sanitizer is homemade, and now I'm going to show you how well it works for me. Topher here. Just want to remind you about naturalbossnh.com. I'm now leaving the Shell station, and I've got it right here in the car. Stuff's amazing, like I've told you. Squirted on my hands, and now I'm ready to take off. Full tank of gas. Great start to the day. And you can get yours too at naturalbossnh.com. That's naturalbossnh.com. Have a great day. And unfortunately, when I was younger, I really had to learn this lesson hard, because I had a really, really good friend, and we used to hang out all the time. We used to do all kinds of shit together. And he looked at me one day and he was like, "We can't be friends anymore." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" I think maybe 16, 17. So just before our senior year, or maybe during our senior year. Brain's a little foggy as always. And yeah, he just looked at me and he was like, "This is it, dude. I got to go do my own thing. You're going down a bad path, and we can no longer hang out. It's not good." And this blew my mind, because I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm a bad person? Me?" And, he sifted me out of his negative group. And this was something that bothered me up until even today. It crushed me. I've never had anything like that ever happen. I've never been told I was the person that needed to be cut. And so now I realize that he did that to help him. And now he's been, my God, all over the place. And he's doing great. And deep down inside, I'm like, it's because he got rid of me. It's crazy. But I'm super happy for him now. I used to be very upset and very angry that he did that to me, but now I understand. And I believe that to be true for all of us. You have to make a decision to kind of cut people out so that you can better your life. And even though you don't want that to happen, sometimes you just have to, it's going to happen. Those people are going to make those choices, and you can't change their mind. I understand that. That was very simple to understand. But being the person that gets cut, it's kind of like a slap to the face, because you may not have seen it, but I spent so much time drinking and drugging that I couldn't see straight anyways. So for him to do that was just very devastating at, being a teenager and stuff like that. A lot of stuff going on, obviously, during those days, and it blew my mind. And now I do the same thing. I actually, now I don't even associate with negative people. I've pretty much cleaned my house, if you want to say that. So you have to do these things to better yourself. And getting back to my really good friend for talking me down, I really am very happy that he did not choose to toss me out when he had the chance multiple times. I gave him some pretty good reasons to not speak to me anymore. So, and I'm very thankful that I still have him in my life. And I'm not saying that like my family or my friends don't help me out as well. But just having that really close friend that you can call at any time, and he's always there to back you, or she's always there to back you. It's just one of those things in life that it's just really nice to have. And if he had made the choice that my other friend had made, I may not be where I am today for a bunch of reasons. Things would have been completely different. So for that, I am thankful, because he was on my keep list, and I'm sure I was on the shit list with him a couple times. And so I'm still very thankful today. And just, if you can take control, you should take control of your living situation and the people that you hang out with. And if you put yourself around positive people, I believe you're going to have a positive outcome. So that's pretty much what happened with the car, the accident, the whole nine. So it was crazy. There was a lot of emotion going on. And it was very interesting to me because I did not feel depression this time. I felt cloudy and I felt upset. But I kind of realized it wasn't depression. It was disappointment in myself. So now I'm going to get a new vehicle. We're going to get back on the road. We're going to take care of this one like I took care of the last one. and I'm just going to keep my head up and keep moving forward. Because if I had gone down in the dirt and I had tucked in and not done anything, fuck, man, I don't know where I'd be. I probably wouldn't be making this podcast, So I really do appreciate everybody that is listening, subscribing, and, helping me push forward, because doing this helps me. And I just want everybody to know that. Talking about these things, putting these things out there, putting myself out there, and showing you that life is a struggle. It's hard. And this helps me tremendously. And I'm glad it's helping some of you out there as well. So, yeah, it's just how it's going. So, as you can see, things are changing again. I know it's a little echoey, and I apologize for that, but we're going to work on it. I'm going to, doll up this room, and we're going to fix it up and make it nice. And, it's my new podcast room, and I'm happy to share this with you. I'm glad to be doing this. Here to tell you again about New Hampshire Vape Gallery, located at 180 Lafayette Road, Seabrook, New Hampshire, in between Home Depot and Smoke Rings. We are open 7 days a week from 10:30 to 8 p.m. And you can come in our store as long as you're wearing a mask. And we have all your flavors. So if you can't get flavors, you come on down and see us. We've got them for you. I've got juice bursting out of the cases. I've got disposables all over my walls. So we just have everything for you. I've even got brand new pod devices that have just showed up. These things are great. Low nicotine, high nicotine, doesn't matter. It's just a nice small device that fits in your pocket. And if you are at the beach and you need to replace yours because you dropped it in the water, we've got you covered too. So come on down. Again, New Hampshire Vape Gallery, Seabrook, New Hampshire, in between Home Depot and Smoke Rings on 180 Lafayette Road, 603-814-4171. When I lost my license for 6 years, it was 2005, and I believe I was driving on 101 coming into Manchester, and I was driving a Pontiac Sunfire, nice little car, and at the time I was telling people I wasn't drinking, and I got into my Sunfire, and I had a bottle in the back. So I forget what exit I was at. So it was probably at least a 20-30 minute ride back into Manchester, maybe a little bit longer. And so I grabbed the bottle, bring it up front, filling up some shit, and I'm drinking. And we're driving. And the next thing I know, and this is how good my memory is. So I remember that the car in front of me came over into my lane without a blinker and then pumped on his brakes causing me to smack his rear end. And then I took a very sharp left turn into the median down by exit 1 on 101. And I panicked, had some shit in my trunk. I tried throwing it. I think one guy brought some shit back to me. And then I went to, I tried telling the cops I wasn't drinking. They got me doing field sobriety tests. Like, this story isn't as exciting as most of mine are, but, and so now I'm looking at a second DWI charge. I'm getting arrested. I think my dad had to come pick me up, because I totaled my car. Story of my life. And again, my good friend, his mom gives me money to get a lawyer that, of course, I have to pay off over time. But she got me a lawyer. I had to go through a bunch of court shit per usual, and they got me on a DWI second, and I lost my license for like 5 years. And it's brutal. It's brutal. I don't know if anybody out there has also felt this, but not having your license for, 90 days is tough sometimes in this area. So, yeah, they told me 5 years. And I was like, all right, here we go. So now I'm trying to put all this stuff together. There's a long list of things you have to get done before you can get your license back. So I thought I was being smart, and I was like, oh, fantastic. I'm going to get all this shit out of my way in the first 2 years. That way I can just sit back and do nothing for 3, and then I'll just get my license back. So I do that. I find a counselor. We do whatever the hours were for lessons. Do it all. Get signed off on it. And now I'm doing all the rest of my courses, my AAs, getting all my shit done, doing all this stuff. And 5 years goes by, and I go to get my license back, 2010. And they look up the counselor that I spoke with, and he's no longer in service. So what? And they're like, nope, I am very sorry, but because his license is no longer valid, he's not practicing, your counseling lessons don't count. And I was like, what? What do you mean? So now I have to go do this again? And they said, yes. So unfortunately, even though your time is up, you haven't completed all your tasks, even though you did. And so now I have to go and get a counselor, and I have to do all this bullshit all over again. And I do. It took another year, which is why I lost it for 6. And so now 2011 shows up, 6 years later. Finally got all my courses done. I got all my paper documented. I got everything finally finished. And now I can finally get my license back. So, like I said, not that exciting of a story, but that's what happens when you drink and drive and you do it multiple times. They're just going to keep taking your license for longer. The only thing I never got caught doing was driving without my license. And I'm very thankful for that, because when I first lost my license for a DUI or speeding and all that when I was younger, under 25, that I would do it. And I didn't think twice about it. I was just like, oh, if I take it slow, no one's going to catch me, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't. And I'm very thankful for that. But during this 5-year bid that I did, 6 years, I actually didn't drive the entire time. And that's because I just kept finding somebody to drive me around, luckily. And that's tough. It's very hard in this area. It's very tough to keep a job. I had a job I could ride a bike to. That was great. I had a job that My girlfriend at the time took, so I just signed up with them, and then that's kind of where I got started at Walmart. And she would drive me into work. We were both working third shift, and it was great. And that's what I used to do. And then I met my wife at Walmart, so the other chick left, and I didn't have to leave, so I got to continuously have a job and someone to drive me around. And that's how I used to look at things when I was drinking. I was like, oh, I just need this to get me around. It was always about me. It was never about anybody else. As long as I had a job and people to take me there, then my goal was accomplished. And never really thought about what effect that had on other people, nor did I care at the time. So, yeah, 6 years without a license is a long time, but 9 years without an accident. Sorry, let me correct myself. 9 years without causing an accident. Just disappointing. So remember, if you want to grow as a person, you have to change things in your life. You have to do those tough things. Do the things you don't want to do. And look around you. If you are feeling like you're not moving or things are not going the way you want, it may not just be you. It may be your surroundings or the people that you hang out with, and it might be time to go through the weeds and see what you can do to better yourself, because you need positive people behind you to do positive things. You want people motivating you. Nobody should be telling you that you can't do this podcast, or you can't be a marathon runner, or some people can't. I understand that. I do understand that. I'm not talking about physicalities. I'm talking about, if you are like me and you are feeling stagnant or not moving, then take a look around and see if there's anything you can change in your life to better it. I've done this in my life. I only have positive people around me, and now there's only positive things happening. Even though negative things still happen, I just push through them. It's made me a stronger person because I don't have somebody telling me that this is what's supposed to happen, or I can't do this podcast. What are you doing up there? Blabbering around. No one's going to listen to you. Well, that's okay too, because this podcast is just great. It's great for me, and I'm just super pumped that you guys enjoy listening. So it's going to be short. I got to go and tear a car apart. I hope that everybody enjoys the rest of their day, enjoys the rest of the weekend, and remember, subscribe, hit those like buttons, and the alarms. And this is Talking with Topher. I'm going to talk to you later.